You often hear the words heirloom and seed in the same sentence. But my family doesn't have a lot of heirlooms. Displaced by war or the threat of it, on both sides, my mom, my grandparents, and my greats too, there's not a lot that was carried from country to country other than our stories. I want to tell you a story that was passed down by my grandma. It's always tempting for me to picture her childhood as ancient times, but in reality, it was largely set in a rapidly industrializing Taipei city in 1950. They lived in crowded government housing and had been pretty solidly disconnected from their rural roots. Some of you may relate to this, but I wish all the time for a familial seed. Something to connect the field that I tend here in these rolling hills to the ones my ancestors plowed in the higher peaks of Henan, the Dolomites, and the Baikals. Only one generation really separates me from farmers, but it may as well have been 10 the way I grew up on Diet Coke and ramen noodles, never tending a garden. In the absence of a seed, I thought I might hunt for a story at least. So I asked my grandma if she remembers what was in my babushka, her mother's city garden. She remembers it surrounded by cinder block walls and full of flowers. There is one flower that my babushka was especially known for, Tanhua, the queen of the night. It's this big, dramatic white flower that smells like jasmine and is said to glow in the moonlight. My babushka, or like I called her as a kid, Babu, had terrible asthma. It had never bothered her growing up in the steppe of Siberia, but she often lost her breath in the smog of Dodger. Grandma remembers everyone sleeping in one room, her little ears desperately attuned to the rattle of her mom's lungs. Babu was her only surviving parent and my grandma's whole world. She'd hold her own breath, anxiously counting the seconds until they were both finally able to exhale. Every month, the government doctors would come by in a van, their answer to everything, the newly discovered miracle, penicillin. But it never helped. Finally, Long Tai Tai, a neighbor well-versed in Cao Yao, traditional medicine, gave my babu a dried tanhua flower. She instructed her to boil it with bingtang, rock sugar, and drink it every day. Before inhalers and steroids, this cactus flower, gifted by a neighbor, was the cure that finally worked. And the gift continued. Not only was she given the flower, but also the plant, and with it, the ability to make her own medicine. Tanhua is a flower that blooms rarely and only at night. By morning, it withers. I think about the patience and power of growing your own medicine. It can take 2 years for a Tanhua flower to begin to start flowering. My grandma remembers it blooming in one flush a year. And when it does, you must be ready, catching it one perfect evening when it finally opens. But to know your healing is in your own hands, no mystery ingredients and obscure sources, just the humble act of tending a plant that tends you back. Babu became widely known in her neighborhood for growing this miracle cure. She would harvest the flowers and lay them out on a sheet in the sun to dry, carefully saving her year's medicine. There were times when neighbors would steal the blossoms that hung over her garden wall. Babu wasn't really mad about it. She knew that her bush was so abundant she had enough to share. And with it, she'd give them a cutting too, daring them to start their own story. So the gift continued. There's a phrase in Chinese, Tanhua Yi Shen. Yi Shen translates to just one moment. The saying is a reminder that some of the most precious things are ephemeral. The greatest lesson that seeds have taught me is pace and patience. They've reoriented my sense of time, counting in growing seasons, not years. They oscillate between vastness and vulnerability, forcing me to balance their stories that span generations with the urgency of their harvest. Sometimes ripening so suddenly, I have to change all of my plans to catch them before they drop. You could say that a seed lives its entire life in one summer, from planting to glorious fruit. Or you can see them as never-ending, expanding and contracting for as many years as they have people to plant them. Seed keepers strike a careful balance between the eternal and the right now. Working with seeds is a dedication to life that will burn your neck, break your back, and humble you to the core. It's painstakingly slow, devastatingly precarious, and full of unexpected wonder. The average breeding project takes at least 7 years. Each year, just one shot to make the cross, the selections, to bring in the harvest, to not be bested by weeds and floods. When the uncertainty of nature is your collaborator, you have to maintain a healthy dose of blind optimism, often convincing myself I'm a lot more confident than I really am. When I look at my squash patch and half are dead, lost to vine borers, well, I could just call that environmental selection. When one dumb mistake means I won't have enough seeds to plant next year, I could call that an excuse to call a friend. When I'm 3 years into a sweet corn breeding project and every ear is boring and bland, well, then I just keep working down the row, sure there's a good one in there somewhere, and knowing one ear is all I need. And when I'm really losing it, filling a tunnel under the fence for the 6th time that summer, wondering, am I actually being intellectually bested by a groundhog? I think that part's just true. In a world that is constantly looking for the next best thing, it feels crazy to commit to slowly plodding forward, unsure if I'll ever get anywhere that means anything to anybody. But then I think in awe about the thousands of years of farmers who came before me, transforming weedy, wild plants into the bounty that we know today. Generations of commitment passing without seeing what their project would become. Unbelievable faith in the power of creation, faith that there's always more growing to do. So that's when my 7-year plans don't feel so daunting. They're just a blip in the larger project. So I take that lesson from the seed, that good things take time and then suddenly bloom in the night. That I have to let go of perfectionism and just keep putting my hands on the earth, learning as I go, and then learning enough to realize I need to do everything differently. That there are mentors out there like Chris and Yana who will share seeds with me and then allow me to make my own mark on them, shaping us all together as we go. That I can take on absurd projects like building a farm from nothing, and that it's never from nothing. This land was always loved by someone before me, and I'm just here for a moment with the help of my friends to hold the candle, carefully passing on stories and skills. And most importantly, that seeds force us to live in the gray areas. They change a little every year and move between cultures and climates, molded by the hands that saved them. There are powerful forces that want to disconnect us from our seeds and our stories. Governments and corporations that insist life can be patented, owned, and frozen in time. When we save our seeds, we defy their control. We insist that life is for the living, not to be consolidated, but to be co-created by the many. Many of the people here tonight have shared seeds with me. They meet me with grace and generosity. They teach me, through their actions, what it means to be a culture keeper. They remind me that this is not the place for ego, that there are ethical codes that are created and recreated that move with the seeds too. I've seen debates from the most diverse perspectives. How can we protect the seeds? What's the right way to share them? What do the seeds really need from us? It can feel vulnerable to be so personal, but it's a beautiful thing. Seeds demand collaboration. They remind us the story is so much bigger than any one person. Seed stories take many forms. Some are about the past, some look towards the future, but they are always an exercise in meaning-making between two co-evolving beings, the people and their seeds. So if you want a seed story too, you could try these steps. Begin with something that feels special and true to you. Then choose a seed to represent that. Then grow and share it as many times as you can. The sweat and time poured into his seed. That part is the story. Good things take time, and then suddenly bloom in the night. Tanhua Yi Shen. Thank you.